Welcome back to English Einsteins. Today we're looking at English Language Paper 1, Question 4. Usually the statement will be split into two parts. Write two paragraphs addressing each. This is a question where I've seen the largest percentage of marks dropped. In fact, lots of people get 4 marks, 5 marks out of 20 because you need to write a lot for this question. It's 20 marks. So write two paragraphs about each of the points made in the statement. The topic sentence should indicate a level of agreement with the statement. For example, I wholeheartedly agree with the statement because, or I partially agree with the statement because. Use a range of short quotations throughout. Analyze the methods the writer has used. The verbs, nouns, adjectives, similes, metaphors, etc. And then in the green there are some higher end tactics there, using hedging words to evaluate. Clearly the writer has done this. However, I disagree with this part of the statement because, so you're evaluating and debating the truth of the statement. And then finally, use complex sentence to explore nuanced ideas. While I agree with this part because of this, I also partially disagree with this because of this. Well, although this part is true, I disagree with this part because of this. You get a statement and it asks whether you agree or disagree with the statement. You have to indicate the level of agreement. You get a statement and it asks if you agree or not. So, for example, a student said the writer creates a vivid picture of the location, not only describing what we see in detail, but using the other senses too. To what extent do you agree? Evaluate how the writer has created these impressions. Where it says how the writer has created these impressions, they want to know what techniques they've used. And then it says, support your opinions with references to the text. References means quotes. So there's two key areas there, talking about methods, techniques, and quotes. Also, you could agree, partly agree, disagree, or completely disagree with the statement. It's more than likely you will agree. In fact, I always recommend just agreeing with the statement, but you do get more marks sometimes if you have 1 point of disagreement. So it's not 100% agreement, there's 1 point of disagreement potentially with the statement. Sometimes there are two or multiple parts of the statement, as indicated in blue up above. Use a quote and use some terminology to explain why you agree or disagree. So we'll read this extract for question 4. As we're reading through, look for quotes that support the statement the student made. So is the writer describing things vividly? Are they using their other senses? The wagons were moving downhill into a bowl-shaped valley that marked the mountain's summit. A palace sitting at its center. An outer wall curved around the grand palace structure, echoing the concentric circles of the black staircase. Terracotta rooftops dipped in towards its center, the courtyard beyond not yet visible in the approach. Towers thrust up from the outer wall towards the clouds, their brickwork an ornate tapestry of black and white banded marble. The heat was oppressive. Drew felt it roll over him in waves. Occasional jets of steam broke through fissures in the ground on each side of the road, and hot gases belched violently from the earth. He held his hand to his mouth, gagging at a familiar scent in the air. Brimstone, he said, as much to himself as to anyone who might listen. That's right, said another slave, leaning against the bars on the opposite side of the wagon. Sulphur. What else would you expect from a volcano? So we're going to analyze this quote here. The grand palace structure, towers thrust up from the outer wall towards the cloud, and the colossal building. Because this quote agrees with the part of the statement where it says the writer uses a vivid description. So the adjective grand suggests the palace is vast and majestic and has an overwhelming effect on the reader. The personification of thrust up, that's something that humans do, thrust things up in the air. The personification of thrust delineates or describes an imposing, intimidating exterior. And also the adjective colossal incites fear, anxiety, trepidation. Trepidation means anxiety. As you can see, there is a semantic field linked to size and magnitude and vastness. We've got grandness, colossal, towers thrust up towards clouds. A semantic field is where there are many words with similar meanings. Next quote. This one agrees with the second part of the statement about the writer using the other senses to describe the scene. So the heat was oppressive. The adjective oppressive is also personification because oppression is something humans do to one another. This portrays the heat as almost tyrannical and unforgiving. Where it says Drew felt it roll over him in waves, talking about the heat doesn't literally roll over him in waves. It's metaphorically rolling over him in waves, and it's submerging. It's almost as if he's metaphorically submerged and engulfed by the potent heat. Gagging at a familiar scent implies an odious stench, a grotesque, foul, abhorrent smell. So as you can see, the writer is using the other senses. So we can agree with that part of the statement. Here are the sentence starters I wanted to use. Obviously, here we've only looked at 2 quotes. In your real exam, write at least 4 paragraphs. So as you can see in purple, we start with a topic sentence for each paragraph, indicating the level of agreement. I wholeheartedly agree that the writer creates a vivid picture of the location. Additionally, I agree that the writer describes a scene using a number of senses. For example, is where you put the quote in and then use the sentence starters and the notes you just got to write out those paragraphs. So pause there, spend 10-15 minutes writing out those 2 paragraphs. Should give you an idea of what's needed for your question 4 in language paper 1.